And good morning. Welcome to the K-Files. Miss Sandra is not here today. She's kind of out and about. Guest co-host is Chief Amos, Middlesex Police Department. Good morning, Chief.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming in and filling in with us. Also in the studio this morning, we have Investigator Knorr
Yes, sir. Good morning, gentlemen.
with Rocky Mount PD.
That is correct.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, we were talking off camera and you were telling me a little bit about yourself. And I mean, how long have you been with the Rocky Mount Police Department?
About 10 years, since 2013.
Okay. All right. I know I hadn't never met you, but I've been retired for about 3 years. I typically didn't work the Rocky Mount area. I was telling you about Fagans, and you were telling me you thought he might be getting ready to retire.
He
A lot
is.
of good people at Rocky Mount Police Department, a lot of friendships there over the years. Now, you were telling me off camera that you were in the military. What branch?
The United States Marine Corps.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. I had a brother that was a Marine. Absolutely loved it. What was your job?
I was a motor transport operator.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, look, thank you for coming in. I understand you've got a case that you want to kind of talk about, share with us.
We do. We have selected one of our investigations. It has a little bit of age on it. It's gone a little bit cold. And one of the benefits that we like about appearing on a show is to kind of bring that back into the forefront mind of the community. So I'd like to talk to you about Mr. Ellis Stephen Phillips. He was murdered on 6/27 of 2021. He was discovered inside of his home where he was assaulted by a knife or other similar weapon and died as a result of those injuries. He was a retiree from Sara Lee and was beloved by and respected by his co-workers and family. Mr. Phillips normally hosted barbecues on Sundays for friends, family, and his former co-workers, but on that Sunday, they were not greeted with a meal and memories, but instead discovered him viciously attacked. He was a very private person, mostly kept to himself, and this investigation has gone cold as the investigators who originally took up the case kind of had a hard time locating the perpetrator with the motivation, access, and ability to target a quiet elderly retiree.
Mm-hmm.
The only suspect information, and it's not even clear if it could be a suspect, just a individual who was seen in the area that we weren't able to readily identify, was a dark complexion male with a small goatee or beard, was seen running in the area. We really need the community's assistance in this investigation. Individuals, they may have seen something that day or since heard something, because we all know that the streets talk.
Yeah.
And now we need them to talk to us. Sometimes in our line of work, we find that individuals might be afraid to come forward with
Yeah.
information, where they really don't want to be involved
Yeah.
in the investigation. There still are several platforms where people can share information with us. We have a text-to-tip. We have the Twin County Crime Stoppers. You can call us directly. So we would really appreciate the community getting involved, because we need their help in this so that we can bring closure to his friends and family and justice for him.
All of us being seasoned law enforcement officers, we all realize that there's not a case in this book that somebody doesn't have the key information to bringing somebody to justice or solving that crime or solving that case. The slightest little tip is all we need. And for those of you that may not know, this might be your first time watching, this show works with Team Cold Case, and we pay up to $15,000 cash, $15,000 in cash for information that leads to an arrest, not a conviction, $15,000 cash in your hand for information that could help bring closure, help bring a subject to justice. And if you know anything about this case, please use text-to-tip, call Crime Stoppers, call Team Cold Case. We've actually solved some murders where people message Team Cold Case on Facebook. You know, a lot of younger kids, my kids will text me from the next bedroom. So a younger generation of people might not be comfortable picking up the phone and calling and giving you a tip. And you were talking about Rocky Mount PD using text to tip. How is that working for you?
So it has become more popular over the last several years. I think that the customer base that is using it probably feel more inclined to use it. For those who don't know, it is generally, we don't get any type of, when we get information, we just get the whatever the message that is sent. There's no subscriber information, and there's no way for us to get it. It is routed.
You can't track it, trace it. You don't see a phone number.
No,
you don't see a
it is-
name.
It is routed through a third-party company that is established in Canada, I believe, and despite any requests that we would ask them or whatnot, they will not release that information to us. And that is to
Encourage.
empower
Yeah.
the individual. Say, hey, I can give this information. I don't have to worry about, being tracked down.
Right, right. You know, again, that should encourage people or make people who have reservations about sharing what they know to give them a little bit of aid, a little bit of comfort, to feel free to share what you know without fear of repercussion or the bad guy finding out or something like that. Folks, we need this information. The case you just shared, that family deserves closure. That family deserves to hold the person or persons accountable in that violent crime. And I mean, it clearly sounds like a violent crime.
Yeah, as I'm sure you gentlemen know through your experience, any type of assault involving knives or bladed weapons is not a pretty sight at all.
Now, I'm not real familiar with the location. Give me a kind of a reference to where this is.
So Mr. Phillips actually lived in the 200 block of Bassett Street. If you're coming from the police department and heading south on Church Street, there is I think it's Sutton's Used Cars is right there, and you kind of make that left.
Yeah.
And there's
yeah,
this
yeah.
church right across the street.
That's
from.
the, I'm thinking that's like near the old Coca-Cola bottling plant or the bus station or the train station.
A little bit farther south from the
Okay.
bus station.
Okay, gotcha. Wow.
Now, one thing people should keep in mind with tips, it doesn't necessarily have to be from that day. He could have been involved in an argument with someone earlier in the week or someone that they know he was having problems with, and those tips would help investigators as well. They may be able to build something out of that. So it doesn't have to simply be the mindset of, well, I wasn't in that area at the time.
Right.
Anything can help spark an investigation. And to that point, Chief, I have found in some of my other investigations that sometimes people don't know the value of the information they have. They don't think that it's big.
That's right.
And we're not asking you to perform our duties. We will vet the information. And so I ask, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it sounds, go ahead and share it with us.
That's right.
We will determine the validity of it. We will look into it.
Yeah, that's right. That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, look, thank you again for coming in. It was nice to meet you. Thanks for sharing the information. Hopefully somebody has seen something that they will share a tip with the Rocky Mount Police Department. And look, even if it's not this case, if it's another case, folks, text that tip to Rocky Mount, call Rocky Mount, call Twin County Crime Stoppers, reach out to Team Cold Case. Please share the information you know, and let's work together to make Rocky Mount a better place to live, work, and raise a family. We're going to take a break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. Thanks again to my guest co-host, Chief Amos, Middlesex Police Department. And with us this morning, we've got Chief Winstead with the Nashville Police Department. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good. So congratulations on your 1-year anniversary
Thanks, sir.
in Nashville.
Yes, sir.
Hear lots of good things about you. A lot of good things going on there in Nashville. I understand you just got a new health clinic or doctor's office.
Yeah, a new, like an
Urgent
urgent
care.
care right across the
Okay.
street from the new KFC that just opened up.
Okay. Any new restaurants, businesses, anything like that coming anytime soon?
Oh, more than likely sometime in September, October. From my understanding, a Dollar General is breaking ground at Oak Level on East Oak Spring Hill Road.
Okay.
They're popping up about every 2 miles everywhere. So
Yeah.
there's another one
Yeah.
coming in town right outside the city limits, but they have been asked to be annexed into the town. So
Okay.
that business is coming. There's always other multiple businesses looking, and until something is concrete, what little bit I do know we can't talk about. But
I understand.
Nashville's growing. We're slotted to have a little over 700 houses be built in the next year.
Wow.
So
Wasn't aware of that.
completely behind food line now. Just about all them homes. Phase 1 has been done.
Okay.
And now the second phase is going to go from the train tracks to Oak Level Road, and that's going to be another houses. And then the Breedlove Road, we have houses going out there in the subdivision. So we're booming.
Well, now, based on police department size, currently, how many positions is allotted to the police department?
I have 22 sworn positions, and I have right at 6 or 7 part-time guys.
Okay. How many vacancies?
I have 5 currently.
Wow. Okay. I mean, what are you kind of running into to kind of keep,
We
staffed?
were trying to. Our biggest thing is funding.
Yeah.
Everybody now is there's a market for law enforcement across the nation. It's not just a Nash County thing or a national thing, but across the nation, a lot of folks are the age bracket has retired that has started out, and it's just took a drastic hit at one time. And then pay. Everybody is the economy's trying to get caught back up from the COVID era, and people are trying to get back pay. But now I've had, like I said, my 5 officers have left me, and they've gone to get anywhere from an $8,000 to $12,000 pay raise, still locally, so that they're not having to move or nothing else. And I can't fault them. They're
Yeah.
all young officers. They've been with me 2 to 5 years. They're all getting married. They're all buying houses. They're all having children.
Yeah.
So they have to support their family, and I do nothing but support them when they come to me and say, "Hey, I'm applying here because financially I have to support my family." So,
$1,000, $1,500, no big deal, okay?
Right.
The average officer's not going to give up the safety net, the position where they are. When you go to talking $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 pay raise, I don't care how good the working environment is where you're at. You're going to consider leaving.
100%.
Makes a huge difference.
Way back when I was stationed in Orange County on the patrol, there wasn't a lot of money. It was some tight years with the patrol. And I overheard a lieutenant tell a first sergeant, look, we can't give these guys money, but we can give them equipment and we can work with them on the schedule. Those days are gone.
Mm-hmm.
They might come back, but they are long gone. Who would have ever thought you'd have a situation where folks are leaving the highway patrol to go to work at a local department because of a $10,000, $12,000, $20,000 pay discrepancy? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And the only way you're going to fix this is everybody's going to have to step up and pay higher salaries.
Chief Hassel last year at this time had right around 30-some openings. He used money available to him at the time and went to his council, and they're very progressive with his town manager. And to my knowledge, right now they have maybe 1 or 2 openings. But when your starting pay is right around $60-some thousand, or you bring somebody seasoned in to fill them spots, and that helps you on training that you have a seasoned officer instead of somebody green right out of basic school. So, I had an officer leave me, and he was a sergeant for me. He went in as a police officer, and he got an automatically $12,000 pay raise just from leaving me and going there. And as far as equipment, Nashville's very fortunate. My council is very good to us. We all my guys have new cars on patrol. We have really state-of-the-art equipment. There's nothing that we lack for that way. And if we do, we have partnerships with the Sheriff's Office, Rocky Mount, state and federal agencies that help us in support roles. that we reach out to. So, you know, as far as the equipment, we have all the equipment. We have a quality of life, but like you said, quality of life only goes so far when
Yeah.
you're raising a family.
Yeah.
So,
Well, look, right out of school, BLET, and Chief, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Roughly, somebody comes to you right out of BLET, what do you hire them at?
I bring
Roughly.
them. I can bring them right in the door at $43,000. Once they get out of field training, they'll get a percentage raise that goes somewhere between 46 to 47,000.
Okay. Chief, what about Middlesex?
We're pretty close. You'd be somewhere, if you're coming out of BLET, 42 to 45, depending on any other experience you had.
Do you know what the county does, roughly? Just
Right.
an estimate.
Right around 46, 47, and they're actually hiring you to go to BLET.
Okay.
It's got to the point now. My town manager is entertaining the idea that we can hire somebody from start and send them to school, and then they work for us for 2 to 3 years, kind of like on a contractual basis. That if you leave, you'll reimburse this much money because we forward you the option. Because some people now can't afford to go to school
Yeah.
from BLET and not have a safety net that they got some type of finance coming in to support their life. So, you know, those days of sending yourself to BLET are kind of over. So it's up to the agencies now to hire somebody and send them to school. And then that person, you hope that there's some type of loyalty there for at least a few years
Yeah.
after they seen you.
What about Rocky Mount PD? I forgot to ask him, but if you had to kind of guess what Rocky Mount PD is entry level starting salary
I'd
is.
say low 50s.
I think it's,
Yeah.
I think it's the mid-50s
Yeah.
for them. Yeah.
You know, I started at $17,000 a year. 17,000 is what I started at. But it's what I wanted to do, and I mean, man, it has.
But that was in the early 90s,
Yeah,
mid 90s.
but it's paid dividends. I went to work with the state. When I got hired with the state, it was $23,560 was my salary. I mean, it just sticks in my head. But you know, the pension, the benefits, the retirement, folks. If you want a good job, good career, I don't care if it's at Middlesex, I don't care if it's at Rocky Mount, I don't care if it's at Nashville, the Highway Patrol. We need law enforcement. We need you. It takes a special person. You've almost got to have a calling similar to being a preacher to go into law enforcement and to be an exceptional law enforcement officer. You know, I was talking with Kenora on break. We were talking about ethics in law enforcement. You know, I'm of the opinion, that's one of the classes that I taught for the Highway Patrol was ethics. You can't teach ethics to someone. This is my personal belief. I think you're either ethical or you're not. Now, you can have a lapse in judgment, okay? I think we would all agree in that, but I think you're either an ethical person or you're not. You know, just my opinion.
It's funny because I was just talking about that to someone yesterday at our department, and I used to teach ethics up at Vance Scramble, and part of the reason I got tied into the consortium where I was teaching some of the DOC classes, and there are some great people in DOC. DOC is an incredibly hard job. I don't want to be locked down with the people they have in there. But what I found in teaching the ethics class was, you're right, you can't teach ethics. And I got a lot of what would really be considered wrong answers when you ask some of those questions that they set up for. And I really didn't like teaching that class anymore. Seeing the people, some of the people that were out there doing this job already, and their opinion of what was or wasn't ethical. Now this was 10, 15 years ago. But it was really disappointing, some of the people we had coming through back then. My fear with all the shortages is that some agencies will start bringing those kind of level applicants back. And, you know, one of the things as chiefs, sometimes you just have to work short and wait for a good,
Yeah.
solid candidate and not bring those type of people into this profession. We're finally getting to a point where we're getting paid more,
Yeah.
you know, and they're realizing they need us. We don't need to go backwards with that.
You know, the good thing about North Carolina is we have training and standards that set the minimum requirements for someone's background, for someone's criminal history, for someone's mistakes, as to if they can even go into law enforcement or not. It's an automatic deal breaker. They have minimum standards in place. And what we've seen over the past few years in some other states, they lowered these hiring standards in other states. And you had situations like what they had in Knoxville. You've had these situations where unethical law enforcement officers were hired because of a shortage, and it's come back to haunt them for lowering hiring standards. I hope and I pray the state of North Carolina keeps the minimum standards that they have. And look, there's been no discussion to change it, but I hope they keep high standards. I hope they identify police officers that shouldn't be in law enforcement and get them out. North Carolina has a reputation, a strong reputation, for identifying a potential bad law enforcement officer, and they're out. I know of 2 or 3 officers who were investigated because of different things. And it's not the agency that comes in and investigates you. This is the Attorney General's office. And a lot of the public does not understand that. They don't know it, but I hope they keep those hiring standards in place.
Well, you know, some people, when I teach now at the community college, the young folks that we're hiring now, you have to explain to them what ethics are, because they don't know. You know, your ethics are your morals and your beliefs and how you're raised. And some of them, you ask them, what does ethics mean? And they're like, I don't know. So, you know, I have 2 small children, and I'm trying to teach them what ethics are at an early age, because some now, people that are getting law enforcement, they're trying to leave a bad situation to make a difference in life, to better themselves in their community, so they can have that interaction, but themselves are struggling with what is ethics, because they didn't have it at home trying to teach them.
I've always likened ethics to integrity, okay? Integrity is nothing more than doing the right thing all the time because it's the right thing to do.
Even when nobody's watching.
Even when
Right.
nobody's
Right.
watching. That's right. So to me, ethics and integrity are hand in hand. You know, if you see somebody that is of high integrity in your community, odds are I would argue that they have exceptional ethic values.
Right.
You know, and again, we can all trip and fall and get our hands smacked for having a lapse in judgment, and you can still be ethical. You can still have integrity. But yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things facing law enforcement, you know. And if we're hurting this bad for law enforcement officers, what is DOC doing? You know, and I don't know. I just
they were
threw
hurting
that
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
they-
always been hurting.
Yeah.
You know, especially now, I was actually talking to Major Moore with the sheriff's office when he was still over the jail. And, I always kind of figured, well, if you're a jailer, the next step would be you go to the state DOC. And he said it's actually the opposite. You know, a lot of the people will leave DOC and come to the county because the county's paying a little bit better, almost the same health and retirement benefits. So now, counties are paying better than the state. It's really hard to keep people in DOC now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
In DOC, the friends I've got there, they're kind of stagnant in the waters. When you get in the position you're in, there's not much promotion there. So if they leave and come to the county, there's more opportunities for promotion, which and give you pay increases and everything else. And as far as my knowledge, the Nashville Police Department and Sheriff's Office that had the exact same Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, which is the state plan. So you're not losing benefits. You're just going from one agency to another. So everything's your sick leave and your 401k is transferring. So when they leave the state, come to a local agency, they ain't really lost nothing. They've only gained more money.
Yeah.
So,
More money and more opportunity for
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Because it's the same pension. It's
Right.
the same pension plan. I think the state may compute your retirement at a different fraction of an amount, or it may be the local government that figures it a little slight difference, but it's still from the state retirement plan. They administered. But anyway, Chief, went to the night out. I had a great time. Saw a lot of people. Number wise, would you say it kind of fell in line with years past? A little more, a little less?
I didn't get to the main vendor area until maybe a good hour or so into it. Oh, they got some pictures.
Yeah, we got some pictures.
A lot of people I spoke with, we had people that came and people that left because it was just so hot.
Yeah.
Miserable heat, and I hate the heat. If it's above 60, I'm uncomfortable. Most people I spoke with said that it looked like we had about the same or maybe a little bit more than what we've had in the past.
I thought it was more.
That's what I've heard from some people.
Yeah.
We had more people turn out. But we had a great time. The Highway Patrol, First Sergeant Pope, he came out with about, I think we had 5 to 6 troopers. The Sheriff's Department you saw that one picture there of Sergeant Stan Ricks and his dog Pebbles. They were out handing out stickers and talking to everyone, and then we had about 7 of our officers there. Everybody, from what I understand, had a good time. The band was good. Food was great. You got a picture of Backdraft there. They said they sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, I
Oh,
saw
Backdraft
that.
is really good.
It is.
Yeah.
Garrett Strickland, he's a good guy. So I think everybody had a good time. I do think the one thing we've all talked about afterwards, after the planning and everything, is maybe pushing it back a month or 2 next year and trying to get it in like maybe a little cooler month. Since we don't actually do it on the National Night date anyway,
Right.
it doesn't really hurt us to just push it back to another month and still call it Night Out.
I love the fact that the date or the day of the week was changed. I love that because we didn't have to deal with the bank closing and trying to operate while vendors were trying to set up, that kind of thing. So I loved the Saturday.
We wanted to try that because a lot of people coming to it, the way I figured it was, if you're getting off work 5 o'clock in Raleigh,
Yeah.
by the time you get home, round up your youngins, the wife, and then come on out, I mean, we're almost done.
Yeah.
At 7 o'clock, we only do it till 8. So I wanted to try Saturday and just see how it went, and I think I liked it too.
And I would fully support pushing it back because now it was hot.
Yeah.
Now I had a good time, but I was Mayor Lou Harvey. He told me he lost 11 pounds. That's a lot of water weight to lose, man. When I saw him, he was soaking wet from head to toe building on that stage.
Yep.
And but yeah, push it back to September, something like that. When is the Pumpkin Festival typically?
First Saturday in October is coming up.
Okay, all right. So you don't want to kind of, overlap that. It would need to be, a couple weeks before or a couple weeks after. But yeah, I think it's a great idea to push it back a little bit further because it was hot. Mm-hmm. It was hot.
That's one thing with a small area like what we have here in Nash County. We always try to make sure we're not in competition with anything else. We don't want anyone to have to decide, do you want to go here or there? So we just look for dates that don't conflict with anything, so anybody that wants to come out can come out.
Well, I had a great time. My family had a great time. I love going. I see a lot of people that I haven't seen since last year. And it's almost like a festival atmosphere to me. It reminds me kind of sort of the Pumpkin Festival, street dances and things like that. It kind of reminds me of the Blooming Festival. It really does. Speaking of the Blooming Festival, how was your turnout? How did it go this year?
Roughly, we had about 40,000 people.
Wow.
On Saturday. We start rides on Wednesday and Thursday. The carnivals come in, they start riding on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And Friday and Saturday, we have vans and carnival and rides and vendors and food trucks. So it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Did Chandler James play?
Chandler played Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the main act that came Saturday evening after, but Chandler and Meredith opened up for him and stuff. So I mean, it's good to have somebody hometown
Yeah.
come and show up.
Well, we're going to take a break, pay some bills, and we'll be right back right after this. And welcome back. We're here this morning with Chief Amos, Middlesex Police Department, and Chief Winstead with Nashville Police Department. Guys, thank y'all so much for coming in and helping host the show and being a guest. I mean, we greatly appreciate it. one thing I've heard Sheriff Stone say time and time and time again is, you know, it's all about working relationships. It's all about sharing information, helping each other, working with each other to help solve these crimes. You know, I don't care if it's somebody fleeing Nash County getting picked up in Arizona, or if it's somebody fleeing Nash County and Wake County, Nash County to Wake County. Having well-established working relationships with other law enforcement officers and law enforcement agencies across the state, it pays dividends. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You know, what we do weekly here is we talk about cases that haven't been solved, cold cases, homicides, missing persons, things like that. And since we have Nashville in the house today and Middlesex in the house, it's only, I think it's only relevant that we discuss one of the only Nashville cases and one of the only Middlesex cases that we have. Mind you, the Nashville case is a Nash County Sheriff's Office case. Randy Colgrove. We all know, I knew Randy. I know you knew Randy. He cut my hair. Randy Colgrove. This case is from October 21, 2017. Nash County Sheriff's Office responded to a person laying in the driveway off of a home on Highway 58 in the Sandy Cross community near Vivert Road, just outside of Nashville. Once on scene, they found Randy deceased from gunshot wounds. Now, I'm under the impression that they kind of found him down that path, on the path itself, somewhere between his residence and 58. I've heard speculation that they thought it was a home invasion. I've heard speculation that they thought it was a robbery. Randy Colgrove was a kind soul. He was very opinionated. He was a funny character to me. Like I say, he cut my hair. I've been told that they are so close to making an arrest or breaking this case. Folks, if you're watching today and you know anything about this Randy Colgrove case, please pick the phone up, call Nash County Sheriff's Office, reach out to Twin County. I don't care who you share that information with as far as law enforcement goes. Please share what you know. Let's identify these bad guys. Let's hold them accountable. This family deserves some closure in this case, a lot of unanswered questions. And look, get paid up to $15,000 in cash for your tip. The smallest little tip could break this case. Smallest little tip. Do you ever hear anything, even if it's just rumor or speculation, on this case?
Something comes up from time to time, and we automatically reach out to the sheriff's office, our detectives and their detectives, and everywhere. Like the Rocky Mount officer said, or detective, even you can even text the Rocky Mount's tip line, and it's completely anonymous. And it not only helps Rocky Mount, but we share information with everybody. If it benefits something in Middlesex has got going on, or
that's
whatever.
exactly
So
right. Yeah.
It really, there's no lines. I mean, and if you got a tip here that you think is insignificant, it could help here, and it could help something that's in the western part of the state with something you never know. And some people, just the slightest little detail could help.
Fresh eyes on a case. Fresh eyes on a case. If you've got an investigator who has looked at this case and looked at this case and looked at this case, there's nothing wrong with another investigator looking at it. And I'm not just talking about this, I'm talking about any case. Put fresh eyes on the case. Look at what happened in Halifax County here recently. The sheriff up there hired a special deputy who was retired, I believe San Diego or San Francisco. He's from California anyway. Hired him specifically as a cold case investigator. And brother, they have already solved brought charges in a cold case.
Yep.
I love stuff like that. That's good stuff. And what it took was fresh eyes looking at a case that other law enforcement just, they couldn't solve it.
They're so invested in the case, but sometimes they get stuck on what they're looking at It's just like all of us, our wives, we put something in the refrigerator and we know the ketchup's in
Yeah.
there, and we open the door 10 times, we can't find it. So it takes somebody else to go in there and looking at it differently, and you know exactly where it's at.
That happened at my house last night with Arby's sauce. I like cold Arby's sauce, and I was like, "We don't have any Arby's sauce." She was sitting at the table. "Yes, we do." I said, "No, we don't. I'm standing right here." She gets up, tramples over it. Here it is. I was like,
Exactly.
oh my God!
That one
It
little
was-
piece of detail that us three might not pick up.
Yeah.
Some other experiences that they had in their career from another agency, they can find that little detail, and that would be the thing that puts that puzzle piece together that
Yeah.
we're looking.
Yeah, that's right. So, folks, if you know something about Randy Colgrove's case, please pick the phone up and get paid up to $15,000. All right, this is one of the only Middlesex cases that we have, Middlesex area. It's a Nash County case, North Carolina Highway Patrol case. Philip Lee Willoughby. This case is from November 27th, 2020. In the morning hours, Nash County Sheriff's Office and the Highway Patrol responded to a hit and run involving a pedestrian on NC 231 in Nash County at the Middlesex city limits. You would argue just beyond the city limits, wouldn't you, Chief?
Literally,
I'm
just past the sign.
just giving you a hard time. I'm just giving you a hard time.
It was so close.
Upon arrival, troopers discovered a deceased male who was identified as Philip Lee Willoughby, Jr. of Middlesex. Mr. Willoughby had been struck by an unknown vehicle, and the vehicle had fled the scene after impact. Investigators believe that he ran out of gas on the night of November 27, 2020, left his car at a nearby Dollar General, and was walking home when he was hit. A Middlesex police officer actually spoke to him that night, but Willoughby told him he was waiting on a ride. At last check, the keys to his vehicle were never found. His cell phone was found several days later in an area that had already been searched multiple times. Anything you want to add or share, or is there anything that you can discuss?
The actual collision would have been around 10:30 at night prior to him being found. They
Okay.
didn't locate him till in the morning because of the position of the body.
Okay.
It was located by someone driving a piece of farm equipment that sat up a lot higher,
right.
and could see him where he had ended up landing. The manner in which he was hit definitely was not an accident. He was going southbound on the shoulder of the road. The car was coming in northbound. So the car had to cross the road to strike him.
I never knew that.
So that time frame, around 10:15, 10:30 at night, that's when it actually would have occurred, even though the morning hours is when he was located. The collision happened that night.
And that would explain his distance from impact as to why he wasn't discovered at the collision scene
Correct.
initially. See, I never knew that. Gotcha. Good to know. I wasn't aware of that fact. From what I understand, this was a very well-liked guy. Great guy. There's rumors in every community. And I had heard that there was suspicion of, a suspect. And I want somebody so bad to come forward and share what they know on this case. To be struck and left for dead on the side of the road in the ditch. And if they crossed the lanes, it's very possible it was intentional. You can say what you want to. If you crossed the line and struck someone, you know it.
Yep.
You know it.
Oh, there's no way that whoever did that was not aware that they were involved in a collision. There's no way they didn't know.
Folks, again, Philip Lee Willoughby, November 27th, 2020. If you know anything, pick the phone up, give us a call, 252-406-6736. Gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. Chief Amos, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate your time.
Chief Winston, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welcome back anytime. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.